G'day guys. Today we're going to be talking about the paradox of the Natty Limit. This is sort of in response to some videos that have been going around about this lately from some pretty big lifters, bigger than I. And I know that it's time, it probably isn't time, but I'm going to make it time to inject a little bit of philosophy into my fitness channel. So here we go. Why a paradox of the Natty Limit? Well, because in the end, we're going to be asked to believe two different things that can't both possibly be true. Okay, so before I start, I want to clarify that I think that there are two uses of the turn of phrase the Natty Limit. One is sincere, and the other is cynical. So by sincere, I mean we're really asking the question genuinely, just on face value. Is there a limit to how big a particular lifter is going to get naturally? The cynical one it's the same question, but it's being asked by a person in a context where they're trying to perform a manipulation by asking the question. But I think that the sincere question is interesting enough on its own that it's worth talking about. So that's what we're going to talk about. So, for somebody who is natural, is there a limit to their gains? There's a way of answering this question which draws upon knowledge, and there is a way of answering this question which is embodied or believed. So to answer the question from a knowledge perspective, we would say, of course. This is the perspective that we would use if we were faced with the question in the context of sitting an exam. True or false, do particular lifters have a natural limit? Is there a limit to how big they're ever going to get? You'd say, yeah, that is the obvious answer to the question. A shorthand of thinking about this is to think about your betting mind. So this is a way of thinking about these questions that I've heard from Sam Harris. I think it's great. So, would you be willing to bet that a given natural lifter, think of somebody who's big that you think is natural, would you be willing to bet that that lifter, over the course of, give them as long as you want, are they going to be able to double their mass? So not will they continue to make gains, are they going to double it, right? Well, if you ask this extreme question, you would say, no, they're not likely to double their mass. Come on. So you would say rationally then, okay, well, their limit is somewhere between where they are today and where they would be if they doubled their mass, right? So case closed. That's the Natty Limit. Another analogy would be to say, well, think that you're deathly scared of heights, right? And I bring you to a rope bridge. This is going to help to clarify the notion of embodied belief. So you're scared of heights. I bring you to a rope bridge spanning this huge canyon, Simpson style, right? And we've got a whole crew of people there as well. I bring the engineer who constructed the bridge in the first place. I bring out the maintenance team. I've got a group of tourists who crossed that bridge just earlier this morning. We've got everybody here, and you can ask them as many questions as you want. Anybody else who you can think of that you would want to ask for a second opinion, we'll bring them along as well. You've got full access to knowledge about this bridge. So eventually you're going to reach a conclusion, which is that the bridge is safe. That is the true or false, yes, no answer to the question. If it turns up on your exam paper, you say, yep, that bridge, safe. However, right, if you were to sit there all day long, right, each person comes up to the bridge, you get the opportunity to bet on whether they're going to make it to the other side safely. You're going to hang out at that bridge and make money all day long. But you're still scared to cross that bridge yourself. all of that knowledge is not going to get you to walk across that bridge yourself. You've still got the fear. As soon as you walk up to it, you look over the edge, you say, no way, man, not happening. There's nobody that you could bring in for me to talk to that would convince me otherwise. Actually, for you to convince yourself otherwise, it requires you to resolve this cognitive dissonance, right? So this is your embodied belief. It's in your body. It's in your nervous system. It's in every cell that is screaming at you to not take a step across that bridge. And this is how you can think about the difference, right? So there's the embodied belief, and there's the knowledge belief. So how does this apply to the natural limit? Well, if we ask the question purely from a knowledge perspective, it's very easy. It's very simple. But there's a question about, for you as a lifter, what is it best to believe? What would be the best embodied belief to have about your own limitations? And on this, we can see where the paradox is, right? Because you would say, we're not going to delude ourselves about our knowledge, right? We'll say, yeah, I mean, if I had to bet on it, I'd say that I'm not going to double in size, right? On the other hand, I know that there is more to do. And I also know that there will always be more to do. There will always be more gains to be achieved. And I think that that is the right mentality to bring to the question, right? Now, that might not be your mentality. And I think that that will ultimately become a limitation for you eventually. It's a self-limiting belief. For somebody who really knows that they can do more, that they can achieve more, they will always find a way to do more. They might not find a way to double in size, but they're going to make it a lot further than what they would have if they had a mentality which was to say, well, there is a limit and progress is really hard right now, so I must be close to the limit. So I don't think it's a simple, this embodied knowledge. There's nothing that I can say to persuade you to change your perspective from one to the other, right? It's like the engineer talking to the guy at the bridge. There's really nothing that he can say. There are methods, right? That people's embodied belief does change over the course of their lives, but it changes in response to experience. So if you have this embodied belief which says, I'm no good, you know, my limit is really low, I've got bad genetics, I'm not cut out for this, right? If that's your embodied knowledge, you're going to have a bit of a journey ahead of you, friend. And if that does change in the end, it won't change because of anything that anybody said. It will change because of the experiences that you have along the way. So if that's you, I would say you got to get out there and try a bunch of different things. You know, test your limits. You might see that they're further out there than what you necessarily thought. So, but it's hard. It's hard to give advice to that question. I just want to point out that there's a problem there. All right. I don't want to talk about the cynical use of the Natty Limit. So this is basically related to people who are not natural lifters, or people who are seriously flirting with the idea of becoming lifters who aren't natural. And it's used basically as part of constructing an argument for why steroids are good. The argument goes a little bit like this. I have been to the gym for a certain amount of time and I've made a certain amount of progress. I only continue to go to the gym in order to make progress. I have sacrificed a lot in life. You know, I don't drink, my food is dialed in, my sleep is dialed in. I'm basically a pretty healthy guy and I have reached the limit. And so in order for me to continue to take an interest in this, it's only logical that I take the next step, right? which is to become enhanced, to inject yourself full of hormones. So that's the cynical usage of the Natty Limit, and I think that in certain people it plants a seed when they hear this argument, which is to say that, well, at some certain date in the future, even if it's not today, I will have reached my natural limit. And on that day, it will be perfectly reasonable for me to become enhanced in order to keep making progress. And if that seed takes hold in the garden of your mind, the effect of that is that you say, well, if it's okay for me in this future date to engage in this behavior, then maybe it would be okay if sometime before that I also began to engage in that behavior, right? I've already accepted that it will be okay under some circumstance. So now I'm not engaging with the rightness or wrongness. I'm engaging with the criteria for getting started. If this takes hold in your mind, you'll talk yourself into getting started well before you've approached anywhere near what your limit would have been. So it's unfortunate, right? And we should push back against this way of thinking. You don't want to let this seed take hold in the garden of your mind, right? It's a bad idea. So that's what I would say about the cynical usage of the Natty Limit. It's there. It's worth pointing out that that person is not really being sincere in the way that they're asking the question, and actually that it's part of this motivated reasoning to talk themselves or others into taking steroids. So that is everything that I have to say on the paradox of the Natty Limit. I am going to continue to make sort of fairly loose, ranty type response videos. I am also planning a bit of a video series that's going to be a bit more structured. And that's going to be a complete guide to creating your first gym program. How to think about basically start to finish putting together a program that's going to be a good fit for you. So I think I've got about 11 videos that I need to make in that series. So it's going to be a bit of a project, and that's going to start coming out soon. I'm sure there'll be some more rants in between when I see things that agitate me. And otherwise, guys, if you liked the video, if you could click the like button, that would be great. If you've got any thoughts, reactions to this at all, let me know in the comments. If there are things that you would like to hear fairly unscripted responses to, again, let me know down there in the comment section. I'll I read all of them, all right? All 2 of them. Even if someday there's hundreds, I'll read them all because I'm extroverted. All right, I wanna be a man of the people. All right. Last of all, guys, if you like the channel, there is a subscribe button. If you click it, you'll get to see more of it. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day. We'll talk soon.